jab, uppercut, leave you laid out on the floor. Try to duck and roll, hit and miss, now you counting stars. Should've practiced more, should've hit the mask, get out there more. Claim that you're the best. You gotta show me, son. Actions over words, baby boy. Is you real or what? Talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports, talking way too much, world come. Back sports,
What's good? Shout out to the hottest chat in the MF and Game 8 side official. No negotiations needed, period. You already know we back in the building. Salute to everyone that's on deck. I see you. Puma on deck. Salute to you. What's good? Stickum Boys on deck. Salute to you. Hold one mic. I didn't know Bernie the Boxer was on. I have to catch him on replay. I did not know that brother was on. So this is Hot Grease Chronicles EP 477 over. Do you copy? It's been the aftermath. You know how when a tornado rolls through, you know, we really can't do nothing about natural disasters. But this right here wasn't supposed to be as natural as we seen it play out September 13th. I'm just being absolutely honest. It just wasn't supposed to be that natural. But we naturally see the science. We seen the science at work. We seen somewhat the underdog, you know, as they wanted to call the man, the underachiever. I think that is the name that we need to hashtag Bud prior to his attendance September 13th. The underachiever, y'all. Bud Crawford was the underachiever heading into that fight. Even with Spence, they piled on everything that happened pre-existing before July 29, 2023. We know it. We've heard it all before. Hot Grease Chronicles is here to kind of touch up on certain people that was so-called Crawford haters. The Bud supporters have been called a lot of names. But there's one name the Bud supporters have not and will never be considered is disloyal. I'm being honest. I mean, our mentality is different from my understanding and what I've experienced. Our mentality is different. We go in there with the full notion that we understand the tools that Bud has and how good he's improved as he stepped up his level of opposition. Now, for the other critics and naysayers, man, they had a serious problem with accepting what was going on in front of them. Every time when this fight was announced, every time they had something to say. Why is he fighting at 168? This is a no-win situation for him because he's moving up. He hasn't had a fight at 168. He need to fight somebody 160. He need to fight somebody 168. He's in trouble. They say he was in trouble. You heard him. They say Crawford was in trouble. I want you to listen to one of Crawford haters. I'm not going to play a long audio version. I just want you to hear the credit that they was forced to give Bud after the fight was over with Saul Canelo Alvarez, okay? With Saul Canelo Alvarez. They had no other recourse except to give this man his just due.
Or not keep it real. The Bud buddies got this. Bud, he just solidified himself. Canelo had every advantage. crowd advantage, height advantage, or size advantage for the most part, and came up short.
This is boxing ego saying the Bud Buddies got this. Ego. We're used to having it. You understand? We've gotten used to that. Off the fish fry, we was used to it. Madrimov, we was used to it. Sean Porter, we was used to it. Avanesian, we was used to it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, we've been used to it. We've been used to it. EJ, the fish fry, we had too much to eat. We used to it. This is no different. But we do appreciate your acknowledgement, sir. We do appreciate your acknowledgement because it means so much near and dear to our hearts that you, being a Crawford hater, you even had to bend the knee. You had to genuflect. And maybe in the privacy of your own home, you had to put your kowtow, forehead to the ground, and pray to the Most High that you will be able to get over this.
Wilbert Rogers. We got $5 from Wilbert Rogers. He making Bud wait on. Oh, you sent that earlier. I got that. Janet Thomas sent some people in the super chat. What do we got? Outboxed as expected. Skills pay the bills. He definitely did that. Josh Gossett.
That listener said, outbox skills pay the bills. That's what Jamel Charlo said. Skills pay the bills. And unfortunately, he wasn't saying that about Crawford. You know what I'm saying? He was just taking a shot at somebody else. But as he probably was there sitting at home witnessing this all play out, because he know all too well that he was ringside with his lady when Crawford was giving his stablemate a thrashing and giving him a verbal thrashing too. You just don't see that often. But Sir Crawford did.
Canelo legacy would have been better losing to Benavidez. This is why. Ooh, I've been told y'all that. It definitely would have been better because you got cooked by a welterweight. You got cooked.
Ego. Let me ask you a question, right? If you're saying he got cooked by a welterweight, what happened in 140? Because welterweight, yes, he went on a knockout spree, but you all really wasn't giving him credit for the knockouts because of the quality or the lower tier opposition that he was facing. So if he became undisputed at 140 pounds, why aren't y'all giving him credit for being a 140 pounder? What about 135 pounds? Like, why are you all only giving him credit at 147 pounds when he had already became and vacated the undisputed titles after stopping Julius Ndongo? Please explain me to that. Please explain that to me in your free time.
Cooked by. I didn't even make a prediction, so I know you lying. Hey, Block, who is that? Only one fame. I didn't even do a prediction for the fight. I told you I'm doing this fight for money and I don't care who wins. So where's this prediction? Block him. I didn't give a prediction. Tell me where I predicted the fight. Okay. These people, ego hates Crawford. I just gave him his props.
Look, let me explain something to you, Ego. Just because you give the man his props after he pretty much shoved his gloves down the haters' throats, what Crawford considered nobodies, you can't give him his props and say you're not a hater. You was a hater all the way up to when you seen this fight play out, and you said to yourself, "It's nothing more I can say. I can't stop Crawford. Canelo couldn't stop Crawford. So who am I to come back online and start hating on him again once he proved me wrong and a plethora of other content creators wrong?" That doesn't negate the fact that you're still a hater. You a hater, bro, and it's okay. Because Crawford showed y'all once again he's the greatest.
What do you want me to say? I just told you he was raw. He did his thing. So, yeah, enjoy. Bro.
Oh, we definitely going to enjoy. We've been enjoying since July 29th. We've been enjoying since Avanesian. We've been enjoying since Sean Porter. I mean, come on now. Come on, man. We've been enjoying since Kell Brook. Igis Kavalakis. The list goes back and back and back. We've been enjoying since July 29, 2023, man.
The bottom line is Crawford held the weight, which was the big question. He took the shots, and about after round, I want to say round 7. About after round 7, he got in the zone and really just was boxing, and Canelo looked mad one-dimensional. He looked flat-footed. He was just trying to drill and hurt Crawford, and Bud gave him too many looks, and he didn't have to switch styles. I told you Bud was going to stay at southpaw. I've been told you that. Bro, Bud responded to everything. Bud gets all the credit. It is what it is.
Ego say Bud gets all the credit only because Bud demonstrated that he was him. He demonstrated that he's living the fighter's lifestyle. He remains disciplined. He's a student of the game. That's why you are forced with no other options to give him his credit. This is easy work. This is simply easy work. There's no hesitation here and there and the other. This is easy freaking work. You have to give that man his credit. All you cats has been hating on Bud for the longest of time. Once again, he demonstrated. He demonstrated with a fighter that didn't have an accident. Canelo didn't fall off his horse. He didn't fall off his horse and goddamn split his femur in half. He wasn't coming back from a serious freaking horse accident that y'all can say, oh man, he never healed. He was never the same. Just like y'all did Jose Benavidez. You can't do that. Canelo was healthy. He was still at the top. He was still winning. And it got to a point where he had to step up competition. And many of you all didn't feel like it was a step up. Many of you all felt like it was just an inconvenience for Canelo to fight a smaller fighter. Ego is calling him a fighter from 47 when he became undisputed at 140. And he had titles. What did he fight Ricky Burns at 135? You just ignore those titles? I mean, if we're really talking about somebody moving up, it should be a 54-pounder. You said 154-pounder, a super welterweight moved up. The man earned a chip at 154. He has the t-shirt, the certificate. Why not give him credit?
He came out. Anybody that had doubts, anybody had questions, he answered the questions. You know, I don't know if you guys, it's a historic fight because of the weight jumping. I don't know how you guys liked it as an actual fight in terms of entertainment, because kind of Canelo couldn't really, towards the end, he couldn't really catch, he couldn't keep up with Bud or whatever. But it's still a sensational performance. Me personally, I'm always going to approve of boxing clinics where it's offensive. But you can't say, like, what makes me mad is people are going to be like, oh, he ran and all that type of stuff. Bud was right there for Canelo, and Canelo couldn't really get with him, is what it is. Yes, he got on his bike. Yes, he used lateral movement, but that's part of boxing. I'm never going to complain about that. The only time, like, that wasn't like Shakur Stevenson or Devin Haney in certain performances, like with Jose Ramirez. Bud was right there for Canelo, and at times having a pissing contest with Canelo and trading with him, which was highly dangerous. He ran 80% of the time. Man, whatever, bro. You can say whatever. Bud got all the belts. Y'all can cry about he ran. Again,
Ego doesn't seem happy, but he seems like he has to hold some type of level of integrity to his listeners, because there's no other angle he can go. There's no other turn you can, there's no other corner you can turn. You know, you can't change the color of the lights in the background. It's not going to matter. You can't soundproof the room anymore. You have to come out and say, this is what I seen and this is what I think. And if what you thought wavers heavy from the actual result, then they're going to look at you crazy. You know, you have to come out there and tell them the truth. And it's good to hear, but this is one of the guys that was a Bud hater. I don't have no problem with Ego. I don't know him like that, but I do know I have listened in to some of his content before. And this is one of those special moments, man, where you just like looking at these people, listening to them, and they have no other options except to tell the people what they see. What did I just witness? Man, I was criticized. I was on this guy's back all the time, smearing his name, devaluing him as an elite fighter. And he comes over here and dominates Canelo.
I told you I didn't care who won. I'm gonna give props where props is due. Bud is a Uzi. He ran for 12, whatever, bro. Sour grapes, womp, womp, womp. Team Bud, bro. It is what it is. And he won. And Canelo, bro, I don't even know if he hurt Canelo in that 12th round. It looked like it. Canelo, I don't even know where he go from here, bro. Because I didn't like the event. I already told you that. I didn't mind the main event, and I didn't mind Lester Martinez versus Billy. Those are the two fights that I liked. Bud has stamped himself. It is what it is. He stamped himself. No, we're not going to do that. Bud was up against a whole lot, and he used his skills to pay the bills to the point where Canelo's strength and size didn't have no effect on him, bro. Make sure y'all get the likes up. Make sure, I don't know what boxing Twitter is talking about, what y'all talk about on there, but
I just wanted to let y'all hear that. I'm going to get up out of there. I just wanted to slow cook, you know what I'm saying, and let you hear some of the voices that have been known on schedule to give Bud more cons than they give him pros. Real talk, you heard it here first. They've been on record as giving Bud more cons than they give him pros. But when you see something play out on national television, when you see it in front of millions and thousands in attendance, you have no other recourse except to come over here and say, you know what? He got it done, yo. I can't say nothing more. I can't say nothing more. You know what I'm saying? I can't say nothing more. He did it. Hold on for a second. I want you to hear something from this guy once again, just so you won't think that it's not warranted. Just pay attention.
When I trolled the Butt Buddies, remember?
He said he was trolling the Butt Buddies. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of people that was out here that was trolling the Butt Buddies, whoever they may be. Whoever those people are, the Butt Buddies. If it's a Bud Crawford fans, well, guess what? We stay winning. And this is no different. We stay winning. But let me read you something. Let me read you something that Boxing Scene put out from the mailbag. All right. I do think it's imperative to do required reading. I just want to briefly go over this. It's not going to take that long. It said in this week's mailbag, we tackle all thoughts on what Terence Crawford big win means for his career and what the loss means for Canelo Alvarez. Okay. I'm speaking strictly on Terence Crawford. All right. It says Crawford at last get the credit he's deserved. Okay. Okay. I want y'all to see this. This is important, even though it's a short passage. It's a short passage. I still want my listeners to see it. All right. Okay. Let me take down this thumbnail. Okay. This is Boxing Scene, one of the best out there. And I like how their intro, Crawford at last gets the credit he deserves. That is extremely important when it comes to any fighter that has to struggle with fans understanding that they're the real deal. Back when I was growing up, we used that real deal. It's unfortunate Crawford had to, do a little bit more low crawling than some of the fighters that you see that's out here getting much credit for just achieving certain accolades. You know what I'm saying? That many would consider less than what Crawford has achieved. But neither here nor there. I'm not speaking to you in a perspective of the rearview mirror, unless you're talking about history, unless you're talking about us moving forward and looking back on these fights and always have them as sidebar conversations and boxing topics. They're always going to be at the forefront. But now that Crawford has solidified himself as the best of this era by beating the face of boxing, the cash cow, that's huge. To extend his record of 42 victories with 0 blemishes. Let's get down to the article. For those of us who have been arguing with the same people over and over for years who say Terence Bud Crawford is overrated and not that great, it feels good to see those same people finally admitting how great Crawford is. I've never understood for 1 second why anyone hates on Crawford. Do you understand what he just said? I have never understood for 1 second why anyone hates on Crawford. I said this the other day, as far as him living the fighter's lifestyle, following those lines that leads to positivity. You know what I'm saying? Be the example for others. Set the example for others to emulate. There's other boxers out there that's eager to be like Crawford. Non-smoker, drinker, drug-free, family, earning his money, have achieved greatness, and now is a part of boxing royalty. He's did what he need to do. It goes on to say, obviously a great talent, mean in the ring and goes in to hurt his opponents. Always fun to watch. All class outside the ring and always humble. A good man who loves his kids and his wife. He deserves all the praise he gets. And that was from The Shot You Don't See. Okay, let's talk about David Greisman response. There's so much partisanship among boxing fans that when Terence Crawford was on the wrong side of the street, his resume was dissected and picked apart in far more brutal fashion than a kid's gloves and rose-colored glasses that were sometimes utilized for other fighters on the right side of the street. But it is otherwise fair to say that while Crawford was already accomplished, he hadn't landed fights with the biggest names. He was the ring champion at 135, undisputed at 140, and carried the knockout streak he started junior welterweight into his title reign at 147. But being with Top Rank and his network affiliations kept him from making fights with Premier Boxing Champion stable. And Top Rank also never paired Crawford with Manny Pacquiao when both were within his fold. So you have to ask yourself, who fault is that? Did Manny Pacquiao really want to fight Terence Crawford? You know, are we going to see a Manny Pacquiao right now after Terence Crawford dispersed of Canelo Alvarez? Absolutely not. But Manny would take it for the money. But then they'll criticize Crawford for saying why he ain't fighting David Benavidez. You know, it's never going to stop. Furthermore, it says that was just 2 years ago. And that was just a few fights ago. I would have been content with Crawford had Crawford remained at 154 pounds following his title win over Israel Madrimov last year and taking on the deep pool of talent at junior middleweight. I was not surprised that he preferred to jump up 2 weight classes and face Canelo at super middleweight. It was a huge payday and a huge challenge. So let me do a frost call to all the listeners. What do you think? Are you in a mindset that you believe that Crawford was up there for a huge payday? Because look, if that's Crawford's mindset, once again, when people say he's a manufactured fighter and his opponents was carefully selected, I want to ask you this. if you believe that Crawford, let me ask you without a leading, heavy on the front side with bias. Do you believe that Crawford took that Canelo fight just for a payday? Second of all, on the flip side of that coin, do you believe that Crawford was driven by simply hunger and motivation to prove the fight fans wrong once again, and more so, solidify his legacy as the best to do it in this era? There's two sides. Do you think he did it for the paycheck? Because in my opinion, if a fighter is just fighting for a paycheck, you're going to get like a school-esque type performance, Chavez Jr. type performance. You know what I'm saying? Edgar Berlanga type performance, Jamel Charlo type performance. Bud Crawford did not give us any indication that he was running on E when it comes to motivation. He never gave me that indication that he was there for a check. You don't go in there and put on a masterful clinic like Crawford did. That took time in the gym. That means you was on the clock. That means you was having dialogue with your team. That means y'all was going over the plan. Like the A team back in the day, they used to say, I love it when a plan come together. And that team over there in Omaha, Nebraska, you have to credit them with properly preparing their fighter to go in there and combat, not just with any fighter, but a fighter that sits atop any name that's on Crawford record. All 41, to include Spence, is not on the level of a Saul Canelo Alvarez. And for Terence Crawford to basically issue the challenge 2 divisions higher and have people up here talking about 14 pounds, and for him to properly put on muscle enough for him to look strong, be able to take the weight, not fatigue, be able to have hand speed. I mean, just look simply amazing, superb. You can't say nothing about it. If you're shaking your head, that means you're saying to yourself, damn. Looking at that, it's a lot of people that were shaking their head yes and nodding their head no. They was all confused. They was up there looking like human bobbleheads. What is this about? Their speech started to sound funny. Bro, no. Bro. Can you imagine how many bros echoed throughout Allegiant Stadium? Can you imagine how many bros echoed throughout the stadium? Can you imagine? Nah, you can't imagine, Shawty. You can't imagine how many bros echoed to the stadium, yo. You can't imagine, y'all. Y'all can't imagine that. I can't imagine it. You know what I'm saying? Look, this is another fan base that was even more confident than the Spence fan base. Then came free agency. A lot of people still felt Crawford was unproven against top talent. And then he absolutely dominated and dismantled Errol Spence Jr. Dismantled, decimated, destroyed Errol Spence Jr. Dissected. Disemboweled. That was just 2 years ago. And that was just a few fights ago. I would have been content. That's the reason why I'm rereading that. I would have been content with Crawford remaining 154 pounds. See, if Crawford went out with what those fans was talking about, hey, man, just stay at 154 and fight those guys. Don't do it. Don't do it. You're well proven right here. Hey, it's good that Crawford understood what the manifesto what the end game was all about. It's great him and his team understood what the mission was, not to settle and have people still questioning, like, hey, once upon a time, Crawford was thinking about fighting Canelo Alvarez. But we know who Crawford really is. He ain't scared of shh. He's told you he wasn't scared of shh. Anybody that was up here trying to overthink him facing off with Canelo and him dipping his chin, but yet in the ring, you're supposed to tuck your chin. You know what I'm saying? Seeing all those other opponents prior to Crawford capitulate, become the subordinate, act like they're inferior to Canelo Alvarez, conform to Canelo's move and orders. We didn't see that from Crawford. When Canelo gave him the nod, Crawford still kept his eyesight on Canelo. He was showing the people, no, I'm different. I'm different. I'm going upside his head. I'm different. It goes on to say, Crawford is still fighting at a high level, nearly 38 years of old. But he has to make the most of his time. Most of what little time he might have left in the sport. The wins over Spence and Canelo are the pinnacle of a Hall of Fame career. He's at last earned everyone's respect. He might as well earn some more money before he hangs up his gloves. Now, what do y'all think about that? I believe Crawford should take an easy shot. He's had a hard fight against Madrimov. You said it. Don't turn around and say, oh, that wasn't that. No, you said he struggled. Prior to that, he had a hard fight with Errol Spence. So you know what else that I happened to, when I was out here frolicking around in the YTC streets, you know what else I stumbled upon? It was an old dead loose leaf of paper, all dirty, stained, looked like it had been, making its rounds through the YTC in the flood, in the aftermath of that tornado rolling through from Vegas. And they was up here saying that, the crazy part, they was just up here saying that Bud Crawford has fought less than a lot of other people. They're complaining about Bud's inactivity. Now, this is just another layer that they want to talk about because it allows them to be critical of that fighter. Who cares if he was fighting once a year? We talk in one sense is preservation, but then in the next, we talking about weight drain, overtraining. Which one is it going to be? We seen Hammy McGill on his fifth, I believe, of that year, getting knocked out. Right? We seen that. We seen Hammy McGill come in here, fight after fight after fight, fighting for fun, fighting like it's on a merry-go-round. You hop off, you hop back on. You hop off, you hop back on. Hey, Hammy, you want to go again? There's nobody in line waiting. Yeah, I love it. I like riding the carousel all by myself. I get the shadow box with the horses. Nobody's asking that. It goes on to say it's just a matter of whether there are opponents who will motivate him. Not that there's ever been any doubt about Crawford's drive. There are several contenders at 168 pounds, including Hamzat Shiraz. Yet, I wouldn't be surprised if the top choices are Jamal and Jermell Charlo. Now, if it's two people, in my opinion, that if he wanted to give a payday, I would give Jamal Charlo. Okay? I would say Jamal Charlo. I believe he still outboxes because Jamal has been out the game for a minute. But, he looked pretty decent when he did come back. They talk about Crawford, fighting once a year. Yeah, this will pretty much be an equal opponent because he's been inactive just like Bud Crawford. Jermell Charlo, I don't think he should get a shot. I don't care if he was undisputed. He just talks so much shit, and he's not a ticket seller. Isn't that what they say about Bud? He don't sell tickets. You know, Charlo couldn't sell out a bodega. You had to put two bodegas together, open the doors, and combine their freaking square footage, and say, "Hey, Jamel Charlo and Terence Crawford going to be standing." And man, you're looking at about 3.5 ticket sales to 4. It depends on how much food they have on deck. If they handing out comp tickets to get you a free motherfucking Philly's cheesesteak or a glizzy, you know what I'm saying, or some freshly made pizza. Jamel Charlo can't sell out nothing. The same goes for Hamza Shiraz. Is he a correct dance partner for Crawford because he's tall? Hey, we seen Brian Mendoza go over there and sleep Sebastian Fundora. Crawford would box the ears, the lobes, the cochlea. He will box every part of freaking Hamza Shiraz's ears off. That man would be looking like he was a freestyle wrestler ever since he was 3 years old after Crawford get finished with him. You think he was up there spitting ears out? They have to call in forensics and tell them, hey, we need you to collect these samples. Is there any way, being that the ear is majority cartilage, any way you can reattach them? We just never seen nothing like this happen in our years. The EMTs are in shock. Crawford will box Shiraz's ears off. By the time Crawford finished with Hamza Shiraz, that man would be 5'9". He'd be able to complain to Turkey. This is not what I signed up for. Crawford beat me so bad, I'm shorter than what I was before I started the fight, Turkey. Do you have any money to make me tall again? I know you have the sciences here. You have the medical resources, Turkey. Please, can I get the height extension? Can you pay for the operation? I never had anything like this. Man, come on. Hamza would be in there crying, kissing Turkey's feet. He beat the height out of me. Big Turk, please, could you pay for my surgery? They say it's a height extension where they break your legs and put poles and everything in there. I need to get back to my original height. I'm going to be no good in this game of boxing. Canelo isn't faded. He just dodged certain opponents. That's what he said. Lefties 0616. Over. Please stop. The Canelo has lost a step. Argument. Andre Ward called it a couple of years ago. Canelo has carefully been selecting his opponents for years. This is coming from the SOG, son of God, Andre Ward. He would exploit those that either had power but not much ring IQ. I repeat, he would exploit those who had either had he would exploit those that either had power but not much ring IQ, or those who had a little ring IQ but no power. Let's take a deep breath and understand the truth is in front of us. That's very sharp. You know what I'm saying? Spicy. He avoided every boxer who had power and a solid ring IQ. Canelo fought lazy and without the ability to make adjustments. He struggled against Dimitri Bivol because of this, and Crawford was the perfect opponent to expose these truths. That is well said, well put, eloquently laid out on BoxingScene.com for the boxing fans. Shout out to Lefty 0616 over. Shout out to him. Very well articulated. He avoided every boxer who had power and a solid ring IQ. Canelo fought lazy and without the ability to make adjustments. He struggled against Dimitri Bivol because of this, and Crawford was the perfect opponent to expose these truths. What? Man, such a beautiful, well articulated, contextually designed summation of Canelo Alvarez. Let me do you one better. Let me do you one better. Let me drop that right there. Okay. Let me just bring this over here. Okay. Because I want people to see this. There's certain individuals that I know I never see again that I've seen before the actual September 13th, but now have vanished. They're vanished. I just want to put this up there for the replay game. I think it's very important to know that those who are giving Canelo criticism, look at this. This is from Boxing Scene. Say he avoided every boxer who had power and solid ring IQ. Canelo fought lazy. Did he not fight lazy against Crawford? Did you see the gap, the spacing in between his left and right when he was throwing shots? Did you see the negligence of him leaving his face, his entire face and center from his frame, his left and right shoulder, the width exposed to a counter shot of Crawford? Did you see that? Crawford was up there like a boxer, and a legendary boxer in an amateur tournament. Yeah, Crawford was up there watching Canelo, this guy who had selectively, picked his opposition and had gotten away with it. He was in there with the right opposition to expose that. And Crawford had to think that this was the candy store. Look, he had to have a sweet tooth. Every time Canelo was throwing some of those same right hands, you know what I'm saying, and those lefts, and how widely he left the door open for Crawford to throw them left and rights. I mean, it wasn't something that he had to work hard for. Canelo head was right there. Canelo head was right there. It wasn't nothing you can do about it. You couldn't run in there and help him move it. Crawford was hitting that man with combinations that the Canelo fans was looking like, God damn, Viva la Mexico, cabrones. What are you doing? They say all that the nettle go up in smoke. Canelo, as experienced as he was, they was just riding on paychecks and fame. Seriously, Canelo was riding off paychecks and complacency. Paychecks and fame. Paychecks and complacency. Canelo got so complacent that he can go in there with somebody like Crawford and think that he was going to remediate the same drills and Crawford will falter like his previous opponent. It just wasn't going to happen. It wasn't going to happen, and it would never happen. Crawford's just too disciplined, too sharp, too talented, too athletic, and too intellectually inclined when it comes to seeing the fight. He saw all those wide open hooks and freaking straight rights, those overhand rights Canelo's trying to line him up with. I mean, the beautiful work of him slipping and countering. Beautiful, magnificent, marvelous work. Shout out to the chat. The news by Shaw News is on deck. What it do? Team Tucker official in the building. He said, salute to my cousin Bud Crawford from Jones family, Omaha, Nebraska. Fine as y'all didn't know Crawford was Jones. Shaw News, serious increase. Only you overlooked us. Got him. Shout out to my guy Shaw News in the building. Shout out to my guy Haynes Legacy, man, in the fam. Hope all is well your way. You know what I'm saying? God bless as always, big dog. And thanks for those clips. It's a slow burn, spoon-fed, you know. Cousin Bud did his God's way. He was Moses. Now they can't deny his greatness. His rank and status and stamped and certified. Sauce experience. I agree, man. Certified. Absolutely. Juice Lee in the building. Debbie says you got to read the Boxing News 24 article. They hate Bud on a level only for none is familiar with. Yes. Hey, you're right. but I wasn't gonna read. I have so much. Look, I'm trying to spread load this information. It's so much out there that I got to take time to listen to some of these people. And me of all people, I read Boxing News 24 articles. I did live streams on Chris Williams. I did live streams on Dan Ambrose. All that. I know how much, but you get to a point where you just can't read that to your listeners when I'm speaking differently off my perception of what I seen off the performance. I'm going to get to it. You know what I'm saying? Respect to your suggestion. Yeah, I'm going to get to it. But, it's so much out there, bro. Alexander, what's good, man? Debbie says, what up, man? I see you talking that talk. Yeah, man, to come over here and just what they call it, your when they you playing chess and you on time. I'm just clocking in, man. Clocking in, clocking out. Reminding people that the avatar is one of the coldest pictures that's out there. That's one of the coldest pictures. But this right here is the coldest. The oversized chair. The king of boxing. All those individuals that sit in the background that's on his resume. That's a cold pick. That's a cold pick right there. You know what I'm saying? It's gangster. It give you that gangster feeling like, look at me. Look what I did. Look at that. And then he got Canelo. Man, Turkey ain't playing, man. They was trying to say Turkey had on the Canelo colors, the Mexican colors, and he was doing this. You can't read Turkey. Ultimately, it was Crawford's obligation. It was Crawford's responsibility to go in the ring and prove that he can get it done. Just like Bivol. Bivol had to prove he can get it done. Even if it went to the scorecards. Both of these guys was able to go to the scorecards and beat Canelo Alvarez. So everybody was worried about Bud Crawford getting robbed. But when you put on a stupendous performance, as we all speak about the science, I leave sweet off. Even though that performance was sweet, I leave sweet off because I think it's all about the science. The science, it just has so much this, in it. You don't know everything that goes into the science in fight camp. You don't know all the instructions. You know what I'm saying? All the takes that have to happen. All the remediated drills you have to do. We don't know the blood, sweat, and tears behind them doors, yo. We don't know the conversations. We don't know all the vulgarity and obscenities and cussing each other out. We don't know the lack of patience that goes on for training for these high-level fights. We don't know. We just understand that when it's time for Bud to come out and play, this is what we get. He gets Canelo Alvarez on the left side of his boxing ledger forever. Ingrained in the history of boxing, forever etched in the history of boxing. Can't nobody do shit about it. You can't overturn that. People was hoping that he comes back, you know what I'm saying? His A and B sample comes back and it's tainted. No. This is what we want. He's already been up there before, but it's good to see him get his just due from a fighter that was on the pound for pound list. See the difference between, Usyk and all that. Yes, he is a two-time, when he was moving up. And when he became a 2 division and then a 3-time, you have to look at a 3 division and being the first man in the 4-belt era to be a 3 division undisputed. I mean, that's a very, very heavy accomplishment. And I'm not rejecting 2 through 10. I'm just speaking about the fighter that's number 1. That's all I'm talking about right now. Don't put limitations on somebody that's bragging about a fighter that a lot of haters wasn't expecting to win. Don't get frustrated all of a sudden because I'm doing something that you've known me to do. I'm just talking and I'm just gloating. I'm just up here backstroking in victory. You know what I'm saying? I'm playing around in the boxing aquatics, God damn it. There's a lot going on, man. We just all having a little pool party, swimming around in glory. That's all. This man has did it. And he did it famously, yo. He did it famously against a guy that was the face of boxing making all those millions. He got Canelo his highest payday. We should thank Bud for that too. He got Canelo his highest payday. His highest payday, yo. And y'all can't do anything about it. He was able to get Canelo Alvarez his highest payday. And with that loss, Canelo is not sitting at home depressed thinking about no belts. Canelo is going to take some time off and they're going to announce his next fight and he's going to come back. I know people up here talking it's going to be a rematch. Who cares? Crawford still has the keys. He still has the keys. It wasn't like he didn't have the keys. It just he was in a different division. But I'll tell you this, if I'm speaking about it, Crawford should definitely vacate the titles, right? I wouldn't give a former champion or a common opponent, Canelo Alvarez, a shot at the titles. I wouldn't do it. I definitely wouldn't think about no Nestor Martinez or Billy. No, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't think about a Hamzat Shiraz. Why? Because not too long ago, he came off a draw against Carlos Adames. He moved up to 68 and he stopped the fighter who's already been on the canvas. He struggled with Demond Nicholson. You know what I'm saying? Like Hamzat Shiraz came back and stopped a fighter that we always thought that had undeveloped skills. You know, he came in on a knockout streak, but he was just slow to show that he really has that dominating skill set. He just didn't show it. He went out on a second place parade in the streets, biker boy style, by coming in second against Canelo. And then he gets stopped against Hamzat Shiraz, and they're supposed to put him in the company of a Sir Crawford. Hell no, shawty. Hell to the no. No. That ain't it, bro. But you have them Billies. That's the interim. No, don't nobody want to see that. Jamal Charlo, they mentioned, all these guys. To be honest, if I was Crawford, I'm not saying if I was Crawford, but if I had to make any type of suggestion, I would just say vacate the belts. And if you want a 6th division, go down and fight Erislandy Lara, get him a payday. You know what I'm saying? Am I saying Erislandy Lara the weakest link? No, he's the most accomplished. I'm not saying he's the weakest link, but Janabek, come on. How many tickets Crawford's going to be able to sell with a Janabek? A Jana who? A Jana what? A Jana huh? A Jana Ain't nobody coming to see Janabek fight. I don't care if Crawford name in there or not. Don't nobody want to see that shit. It'll be more people to go to see Carlos Adames fight Terence Crawford than anybody else that's a seated champion in 160. That's just my opinion because him and Carlos Adames has sparred. Erislandy Lara, him and Crawford are older fighters, so they can't go in there and say Crawford is like, picking on an older guy. Crawford's 38 years old, right? That's not too far off Erislandy Lara. Manny Pacquiao just came back. They was hooting and hollering for Manny Pacquiao. Nobody wasn't talking about age. I think if there's a fight at 160, he should fight. That's up there, still, holding a little bit of appraisal value. We just see Manny Pacquiao fight a guy, Mario Barrios, 10 years is his youth. 10 years his youth. And he went to a draw. So I'm looking at it like fighting Erislandy Laura is not a bad look, in my opinion. In my opinion. No. Canelo ain't gonna be depressed anytime soon, man. Canelo, went down. Hey, his kids understand what their dad did. I mean, come on, Canelo is rich, man. Canelo has stallions. Canelo is good. I'm not feeling sorry for Canelo because he's earned those freaking those monetary purses, man. A lot of them. He earned those commas. He ain't sweating it. But right now, Crawford is the man, and he's gonna have to deal with that. Crawford is the man. I still look at some of these media guys, these content creators. They're extremely selfish. All they want to do is say, okay, Crawford did. What about Benavidez? You're not even thinking about Benavidez being a big dude, period, and how much it'll take for him to drop that weight. They're so selfish that only thing they want to see is Crawford take on a huge fighter like Bivol did when he fought Zurdo. He almost stopped Zurdo. It was times in there that Zurdo was hurt, and he was damn near a heavyweight in there against Bivol, and Bivol put them goddamn cylinders on him. You know what I'm saying? Them cylinders was firing on all cylinders, and Zurdo's my guy, but Bivol put the beats on him, and it wasn't by Dre. It wasn't. They might have felt like the bass was dropping, but I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't. But shout out to the House of Chat and the MF Game, man. Appreciate y'all for pulling up as always. Until next time, I'm out.